Hi, I'm Anne from Game Like a Mother. I specialize in games that can be played in 20 minutes or less, and this is my top 10 games to gift to gamers list. I'm categorizing gamers as someone who's perhaps been to a board game convention or at least thought about it. They probably know where their local board game store is, or they at least have a pretty sizable collection of games, and it can be tricky to find a game to gift to them that is worthy of being included in such a collection. But I stand by any of the games on this list. If they already have one of the games, they probably could use an expansion, and I've mentioned those as well. I have all the games listed in the description of the video along with a timestamp if you want to skip to a particular one. And I've also included links to any of the how to play videos I've created for these games too. So let's get started. First, we have Scout, which is basically an elevated rummy game. It won the Spiel des Jahres this last year, a very prestigious award. And because of this, it has been very difficult to get your hands on, and I actually haven't gotten to play it yet. My copy is in the mail and it's supposed to arrive in 3 weeks, so plan accordingly if you are trying to get this for someone, because it might be a little bit tricky to track down or it might take a little while to arrive. But it's so worth it. I've watched a bunch of videos on how to play and read up on the rules, and basically what you're trying to do for this game is you're trying to get the most points. And you're getting points by getting rid of the cards in your hand of cards. When you're dealt your cards, you pick them up without rearranging them, and they have a set of numbers across the top, but then there's also numbers across the bottom of the cards. And at the beginning of the round, you get to choose which side you're playing it with, like this, or you can flip it and play with the bottom is now the top, and those are the numbers you're going by as you play. And this matters because as you're playing cards out, if the first person plays like a single 9, the next person has to play something that can beat that, a stronger, better combination of cards. So they might play 2 1s on top of that, and then they get to collect the 9, and that counts as points at the end of the game. Each card you collect counts as 1 point. And so you keep on going, then somebody can play a run. They play 3 cards on top of that. And so they play a 4, 5, 6 on top of those 9s. And then the next person, if you can't play, you get to scout. And so you pay a scout token to the person who had played that really good thing out there. So they get a point. And you get to pick one of those cards to put into your hand. So maybe they pick the 6 and they choose to insert it by 2 6s they already have, so then they're going to have a set of 3 6s to play down at some point. So the game is really neat. I really love that you can't rearrange the hands because you'll have a situation where you have like a 6, then a 1 2, and a couple more 6s, and you think, ooh, if I can get rid of that 1 2 and play those out, then I have a set of 3 6s that I can play, and that's going to be really good. So there's some really interesting but simple hand management that you're doing here. And this is one of those games that's really small, portable, is at a great price point, and people who play a lot of board games like this, but it's a really easy one to get out and play with people who perhaps don't play a lot of board games, because that's what's great about any of the rummy style games. People understand sets and runs, playing cards out really quickly and easily, so it's just really versatile, really great. It's for good reason. It's won a bunch of awards, and so we're really excited to try out. Number 1 for a reason on this list. Next, we have Don't Llama Dice. This is a fun twist on the original game, Don't Llama, which is one of our go-to card games around here. And this has essentially the same premise and purpose, but they've added dice, and that changes a little bit of the push your luck strategy in this game. And I really like that in this, it's the same concept. You're trying to not get the most negative points. Those crazy game designers, they went with the chips that you get count as negative points, and you're trying to be the one with the least of the negative points before someone gets to negative 40. It's not that tricky. Kids can handle it. It's a lot of fun. And the fun of the game is if you get rid of all of your cards, then you get to push back, get rid of one of your point chips, and there's 1 point chips that are white, and there are 10 pointers that are black. And so you can have some big twists in this game because you can have someone come back from almost sure defeat and come back and win it if they have a few good hands, which is really fun and makes it more fun for everybody to get to play because you never know what's going to happen. So in this, your cards are dealt face up, and then you roll 3 dice each turn, and you get to choose. If you roll a 1, 2, and a llama, and you have those cards, you get to discard them, and you're just trying to be first to get rid of your cards. But then, if you get down to you just have like a couple of 2s and a 4, and you roll the dice, and you get 5, 6 llama, there's some community cards, and you have to pick one of those that you've rolled to take back into your hand. And I like this because it keeps it so the game doesn't run on too long. No one can just keep on drawing cards and trying cards and trying to get rid of all of their cards. You run out of those community cards, and the round ends, and everybody just tallies up their score and moves on. So it's a fun element. So it doesn't replace Don't Llama, the card game, but it's a fun twist on it. It's worth having if you already have the other game. So it's a simple card game that kids like, adults like. It works for people who play a lot of games. It works for people who don't play a lot of games, especially when things are all face up. It's really easy to help people make strategic decisions because you can say, oh, the odds of this happening are this, and the odds of this happening are this. What do you want to do? And you can guide a little bit. So I really like that change for this game. Helps with some of the strategic decisions. But the theme is zany and fun. It's a cute little card game with some dice that is sure to please. Next up, we have Long Shot, the dice game. This is a horse racing game that feels like the answer to Camel Up, which is just this hoot of a game in which you are betting on camels racing in the desert. There are crazy camels going backwards. There's a lot of luck involved. And this seems like the answer for people who say, I want to have more choice. I want to be in charge of the strategy and be involved in the outcome of the race. So it's very fun. We enjoy it a lot, but it's a very different setup than Camel Up, which is just kind of a social game you can throw at any crew. Long Shot, people need to do well making strategic decisions to do well at this game. My engineer husband loves it. So another thing for this game is the rule book is a little dense the first time you read through, but that's just because they are very thoroughly describing all of the different actions and the intricacies of gameplay, which I appreciate. You really can just kind of skip through to the part where they talk about the 5 different actions you can take each turn. You roll 2 dice. 1 corresponds to a particular horse, and 1 is how far forward it can move, 1, 2, or 3. And so the horse moves on its card. If you roll like horse number 6, often there's another horse or 2 that will move a spot when that horse, so like horse number 1 and number 3 might move 1 spot when horse number 6 is rolled. So those would all move forward. And then people have a choice between 5 different actions, which are concessions. You can mark off the number that was rolled on the concessions grid. And if you complete a row or a column, you get a bonus item, which can be very important in being able to control the actions of the game. You can get money from it. You can get additional money, which is very helpful for placing bets. Or especially later in the game, you can make your favorite horse go forward a couple spots, or you can make other people's horses go backwards a couple spots. So things like that, there are multiple movements you can do for that, which are really invaluable as you are strategically trying to determine you want your favorite horses to finish the race. So you have concessions, helmet and jersey. You can get bonus points for having both for a particular horse. And then these also allow you to place bets on horses when they're past the betting line. And then you just can bet on a horse or you can buy a horse. And those are how you get a lot of money at the end, because if your horse gets first place, whatever you bet times the number for for them getting first place, and you get all those points. I also really like that there's different odds of horses winning. The lower numbered horses get moved a lot extra, because if horse 6 is rolled, horse 1 gets to move. If horse 4 is rolled, horse 1 still gets to move. Again, a little bit each time. And those matter a lot, so they have much higher odds of winning. So if you place some big bets on number 7 and it just gets rolled a bunch and you use some special moves to make it go along, you can get a huge payout if you make that horse win. So it's fun. It's more of a cerebral analytical game than Camel Up, which is definitely its closest comparison and is a very popular, very fun game. But this, you have much more control, and you have some very interesting actions you're getting to take every turn, and it plays well at 2 players, but it gets really fun and interesting, and much more is going on, and you can play it really well even with a bunch of players. So this is one that people go nuts for, and because of that, it can be a little tricky to find. It's a Barnes & Noble exclusive game, and so you should be able to find it there, but then occasionally it will pop up on Amazon, and I was able to get it through one of my favorite places to find games is Miniature Market, and they had it at a pretty nice price point, but you have to check because it'll come in and then all of the board game people get excited and buy up the copies. And so I think it's out right now. So you just have to check. So if this is one that you're planning on getting, plan in advance so you can track it down. Next up, we have Marvel Remix, which is a Marvel-themed version of the card game Fantasy Realms, and I really like this as a way to bring an amazing card game to a new audience because a new theme can do a lot to bring people in. And the game itself is changed a little bit. It's not the exact same thing as the original with just Marvel plastered over it. I really like that they changed the game up a little bit and they added in some new elements. So in this, you have cards and they have a few different elements to it. They have a name, a type, a base power, and power tags. And then there's some text at the bottom to tell you if there's anything additional going on with the card. And you have to have 6 of the regular Marvel-typed hero cards and 1 villain card in your deck at the end. And then you get to score that according to with everybody else once there are 10 cards in the discard area. One really neat aspect of this game is, as people are picking up cards and discarding them, you just have all of the discard cards available to anyone to pick up as you play. So there isn't anything, oh, that person 2 people ago discarded a card that I wanted and now it's buried in the stack and I can't get it. It's all a game. Even if it's something you discarded and then later on in the game you say, oh no, now it really helps my hand, you can pick it up. So a thing about this one that's different than regular Fantasy Realms, and probably is my favorite new addition to this game, is there are a couple of these hero cards that transform if you have a couple other things going on. So Thor Odinson can transform if you get Mjolnir and 2 or more allies. Then you flip the card and he becomes God of Thunder, and he has a bunch more tags on the side. And so you should probably get a lot more points because of that and totally dominate your opponents. I also really like in this one, in the original Fantasy Realms, some of the cards, you needed very specific cards in order to have big points in your hand. And so you'd get big swings if, oh yes, I found the exact 1 card in the entire deck that I needed to complete this certain set. And now my hand is worth a lot of points. In this one, it seems like you can kind of work with what you've got, and the games are closer, and whatever is out there, you could say, okay, these 3 are working together really well, and these 3, so it isn't like, okay, you need this cluster of these 3 specific cards in order to get a lot of points, and this cluster of specific cards. So it's a really nice revamping of a really excellent card game in its own right. The new theme works well. It plays really well. So this is a pretty fun, very new game, and we're going to be playing it a lot. Next up, we have Dice Throne. Once again, we have the Marvel-themed version of this. Marvel rules over all of us, but as long as they keep on making great games, I'm cool with it. This is basically like Battle Yahtzee, but with more going on than that. What you're trying to do is reduce your opponent's health to 0, and you get to roll dice and have different attacks you do depending on who your character is. And different characters have different powers and abilities. You have specialized decks of cards that you use that have things where you can upgrade the attacks already on your board so they're more powerful when you use them. You can manipulate your own dice, or you can manipulate your opponent's dice. And so there's a bit going on, but essentially it's pretty simple. It's just roll the dice. The other person gets to defend with their own dice rolls, and you have different powers to use against each other. One of our favorites is Loki. With his defense, sometimes he's able to play out have a power where the person who is attacking him, if they have like a 10-point attack, which is really good, and they've used it against Loki, he can do this thing where you have to roll dice, and if you roll the wrong thing, there are 3 options that can happen. Either all of your attack goes through, half of your attack goes through, or none of your attack goes through. And I've had it multiple times where I've been playing against Loki and I've managed to make it so none of the attack goes through. And they're just cackling with glee, and I can't even believe it. But it's such a fun game. Everybody is unique, but they all play well against each other. You can get this and get any other box set of it, not even Marvel themed, and they can play against each other. So it's a little confusing. Some of the versions they have a season 1 version of all of these different types of games, and then they have season 2 where you have boxes that you can get. They just updated some of the artwork. And so it looks a little different, but the gameplay is the same, and you can battle anyone against anybody else. The newest box that's about to come out is Santa versus Krampus, and I am super excited about that one. Talk about a fun theme. And you could have Krampus battling against the Scarlet Witch if you wanted, which is really neat. So, and I like this too because on the backs, they have a difficulty level listed for each of your heroes that you're playing with. And so when I was playing this with my 7-year-old son, I had him play as Spider-Man because Spider-Man is a level 1 difficulty, and I was Black Widow, which is a higher level difficulty. But just because it's an easier difficulty level doesn't mean it isn't as powerful. It just means it's simpler what you're trying to do as you're playing the game, but the characters are still very well matched. And if you just roll really well, if you get really good, strong combat points against the other person, then you're still going to win. So this is just a fabulous game. And the nice thing about this is even if they have 1 or 2 boxes of Dice Throne already, for sure they already really like the game, and they'll be very excited if you get another box for them. Next we have Canvas. Canvas is a game that makes you feel like you are an artist, even if you are very much not an artist. The goal of the game is to get the most points, and you get points by earning ribbons. You are creating works of art, and you have these clear plastic cards with different images on them, but then you can stack the cards together and you can see all the images together. So you'll have something like a girl with her hair in the wind with a cityscape behind her, and it's like, and stars and clouds in the background. And you put together your 3 pieces, your 3 cards, make a piece of art. It has a name like Wandering Truth when you're done, and you get to show it to everyone, and it's very fun. And what really matters on the card are the icons across the bottom. You are trying to match different goal cards that you have posted for the game, and there's a bunch of different options in the game box. The base ones are variety, repetition, emphasis, and composition. And so ideally, the art you've created along the bottom, those icons allow you to win ribbons for at least a few of those different gold cards out there, and you collect them all, and all you're doing is you're creating 3 different works of art, score up all the ribbons, whoever has the most points is the winner. And it's fun, even the manner in which you're collecting the cards. You have inspiration tokens that you can play out. And the first card in the lineup is free, but then further on, you have to pay an inspiration token on each of the cards leading up to the one that you want in order to get it. And so it can be worth it to spend all your inspiration tokens to get one further on that you really, really want. But then somebody might just take the first one after a while because it has a stack of inspiration tokens and is going to allow them to get whatever they want later on. So it's really nice, gentle gameplay. This works really well if you have someone who is trying to get someone who is maybe more reluctant to play games with them to play with them, because just looking at this, it's beautiful, it's fun, it's interesting. People are in as soon as they start looking at those art cards. They want to check it out and play the game. So this is a great one. And if they already have it, they have 2 different expansions. They already had 1 expansion out and they just announced the 2nd expansion. So there are loads of options, and this is great because it is like both gifting a game and artwork, because the boxes are so pretty too. People often have them on display in their game collection. Next, we have Fairy Tale Inn, which is basically like Strategic Connect 4, and it has a great fairy tale theme. So that's, I think, is kind of the deciding factor for this game, whether or not you are in on the fairy tale theme. I think they've done it very well, because I, as an adult, can happily play this with my husband in the evenings, and it doesn't feel like we're playing a kid game. But then when I do want to play this with my kids, they're excited to play and they're familiar with the characters, which makes it really fun. And on each game, there's a variety of characters, but you get to select 4 at random that you're going to play with. And they're characters like Little Red Riding Hood, Pinocchio, the Evil Queen, Jack and the Beanstalk. And they all have different scoring and different special abilities that go along with them, but they're all pretty easy. And it's once you've played through once, it's very easy to remember and know what you're supposed to do with each character. But like Jack and the Beanstalk, whenever you place him, you get to place a bonus Beanstalk token above him, and that can help you earn gold coins. If you are playing a Big Bad Wolf, they're all available to everyone, and you can pay coins in order to get ones that are further up in the list. There's a free one available of the characters that are showing. You're pulling out of a bag and have a few available at a time. And the first one's free, and then you have to pay for the ones further up. And so each player is getting to access to the same characters. And so you place yours facing you on your side of the board, and they're placing their characters facing them. So it's very clear who belongs to who. And if you've placed the most Big Bad Wolves in a row, then you score 3 coins at the end of the game. And then if they've played the most in a row, they score 3 coins. The Evil Queen, if you place it and then the other person places a character on top of that, then they lose a coin. So there's just a lot of fun things going on. The gameplay is really good. And this is one that came out a couple years ago, and I don't think it got quite the fanfare and appreciation that it deserves, because it is solid, it is fun, it is unique, it has a great theme, and it's one of the ones where we get it out periodically, and it always is so fun to play. It's worked well when my kids were younger. It's working as well as they're getting older. My husband and I enjoy it. So this is a solid game, very worth checking out. Next, we have Railroad Inc., which is my husband's favorite game. I love it too. The goal of the game is to score the most points. You are rolling dice that have highway and network drawings on them, and you are choosing to draw them onto your little individual boards in front of you in any way you like, in order to connect the most networks together with the fewest dead ends. And this game is great because it's a roll and write, and everyone is given the same material to work with. There is no more fair game than this one. And it's so simple to get up and running, because it's just, okay, clearly, this is what you're seeing, this is what you're drawing. So it's great. And this is one of those games that usually I'm kind of a base game kind of person. I like the base game, that's good enough. I don't need a lot of expansions to change things up. That rule flies out the window for Railroad Inc., because the expansions are the heart of the game and actually make it easier to play as you're going along, because the base game, you need to have, it's tricky to get a lot of the networks connected. With the expansions, you have a couple more dice to work with, and they have different things that you're doing with them. And so it can actually make it a little easier depending on what you're doing. I would very much recommend getting the Deep Blue edition for your first box of Railroad Inc. It's the base game, and it comes with 2 expansions. It comes with rivers and lakes, which are very positive, forgiving. Once the rivers, you're trying to make the longest river with an extra couple of dice you add into the game, and some of the river pieces have highways or railroads drawn on them, so that can help you a bit. The lake, water conducts electricity, right? So if you connect your routes into the lake, it's like a big superconductor, and it can make it so it's really a lot easier to connect all of your routes together. Next, there's the Blazing Red edition, which we own all of them, which has meteors and craters, which are kind of some more happy chaos in the game, which I really enjoy. Sometimes bad things happen in this, but that can make it fun too. And then they have challenge editions that add different aspects to the board, like factories and towns, and there are different bonuses and abilities you get if you build routes through those particular spots. And they have their own additional dice that come with them as well. So this is a game where if they don't have it yet, they should, because it should be in anybody who is a board gamer. This is one that should be in their library. And if they already have it, they could definitely use an expansion, because they have other just single dice. Like we just got the engineer dice recently, and those are really fun. I really enjoy the different things you can do with those, adding them into the game. And so they have a whole bunch of those very easily available. And it's just a great way. It really makes the game, because it's a way to make it unique, fresh, and fun in a pretty gentle, easy way every time you play. Next up, we have Kingdomino Origins. Many people are familiar with the very popular game Kingdomino and its many follow-up games like Kingdomino Duel and Kingdomino, and even an adorable kid-themed version that's Dragomino. This is their newest version, and I would say if you play a lot of board games and you get this game, it makes Kingdomino and Queendomino kind of obsolete in your collection, because it would replace them. It's better than them. This is Kingdomino, where you're trying to place tiles and dominoes that, instead of having numbers on them, they have terrain, and you're trying to match up the same type of terrain and have it by each other. And in the original, you have crowns on them, and you score points for crowns and matching terrain. In this, there's a Stone Age theme, and it has 3 different levels of play. So there's quite a bit in the box, and I wouldn't give this to somebody who's going to get intimidated by a lot of pieces in the box, because you open it and you say, oh goodness, this is a lot. But it isn't. It's all broken down. It's very simple to play, and especially if you have somebody who knows how to play, they can match their audience with this, with the 3 modes of play. So there's Discovery Mode, Totem Mode, and Tribe Mode. And Discovery Mode is just essentially the same as regular Kingdomino, but they've added in volcanoes, and in this, the fire is what scores you points for different regions. And if you place a piece with a volcano on it, you get a fire token that you get to place within a few spots of the volcano. And so you have more control over where you're allocating your points, which is pretty great. Then they have Totem Mode, which I'd say is more the family-friendly level of gameplay. And in this, you have these tokens that are mammoth, fish, mushroom, and flint, and you get to place them on the corresponding matching territories that go with that. And you just get points for each of those pieces you have at the end. You get a bonus if you have the most of a specific type. The pieces are really cute and fun. My son, when we would play this a bunch together, he would just sit and play around with those pieces because they're so fun. They look really nice. There's nice wood. And so he really enjoyed that. And then if you play with somebody who plays a lot of board games and says, okay, dominoes is fun and all, but I want something with some strategic meat behind it, Tribe Mode, you get to use those resources in order to enlist cavemen or to do different things for you. So you can strategically place them on the board, and you can get a hunter, and you place them in a spot in the middle where there's where there's mammoth tokens around it, and then you score a certain number of points per mammoth. My favorite are the hunters, because for those, if you place them near each other, if you have a 3-point hunter on one spot, a 2-point hunter right next to them, and a 1-point hunter next to that, you get to multiply the total of their value by the number of spots they're on. So it's 6 times 3, that's 18 easy points you've just gotten. So that, I would say, works a lot better. It fills the same niche as Queendomino, but it does it better and it's a lot more fun. It just seems more seamless when you play, and it's all in one box and it just works so well. So I feel like they went through a few different iterations, and then they finally offered this up, and a lot of people think, well, I already have Kingdomino. No, this is the Kingdomino. The gameplay of this should be a family staple, and I would still only give it to somebody that can handle all of the rules, but then they're able to take it and have it work for any audience. And finally, we have 8-Minute Empire Legends. This is like Risk, but it's so much better. And specifically, this is 8-Minute Empire Legends. They came out with 8-Minute Empire first, which is very good, very fun, but it had a few sticky points, and the Legends version streamlined those out and now is just perfect. It works so well. The essential gameplay is that you start with a number of armies, and you have some cities available to you, and you have coins that you use to purchase cards that allow you to get goods and actions. So you can place armies, move armies. One of the key differences between this and the original 8-Minute Empire is you can't get stuck at the water. You just use more of your actions to get across the water, but you don't need a specific card in order to move across water, which is really nice. And then you get abilities that let you have bonus moves, bonus armies. You get victory points for types of cards or sets. And you just go for a certain number of moves. It's called 8-Minute Empire Legends, but it's more like, think 8 minutes per person playing. So if you're playing with 2 people, it's going to be like 16-Minute Empire Legends. If you play with 3, it's going to be 24 minutes, which is still a very concise game time for a lot of game. So this is just all of the fun of Risk, but with better strategy, and it's just seamless and works so well. So that's it for our top 10 games to gift to gamers. There are some of our absolute favorite games on this list. I hope you found one that you're excited to try out. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time from Game Like a Mother.